in the British economic imperialism, I think had a symbolic role. It was, and the symbolic role was twofold. You know, you can't understand it in one level. One level was reduced dependence on external goods, so Swadeshi of one's own. Second level was generating employment. We are a labor surplus economy, don't go in for labor serving machinery. And the third, and I think this is the most crucial, and I think this is what perhaps you've not understood, is to break down the pernicious divide in the Hindu caste system between mental and manual labor. That everyone, regardless of your caste, must do some work. I mean, I'm a Brahmin and I don't think I've done a day's work, physical work in my life, and I'm typical of most Brahmins and upper caste. And Gandhi was trying to correct that. That's the crucial. So I think, don't simplify Gandhi's message on that. It's much more complex. That's the first.
I was going to say that.
The other thing is, yes, you're right, that it was romantic. And it was rejected by his greatest follower, Nehru, and by Ambedkar. So we went in for industry, which is fair enough. We needed to build a sophisticated industrial technical base. We needed to end poverty through mass production. We needed to use modern technology for that. But his environmental warnings now seem to be prophetic. Strip the world bare like locusts. And it's not only global warming. I mean, you come to India today. Because of careless, because of basically, you know, modern economics, which some people would celebrate, our rivers are dead, our groundwater aquifers are totally depleted. You know, our soils are horribly contaminated. There are no forests and wild animals left. I mean, this is all, and you know, this is something, and if you look at the burden.
That's Malthusian. I mean, maybe
that is not Malthusian. That is not Malthusian. That is not Malthusian. I'll give you an example. Oil, you know, when the first Gulf War happened, long before all these debates, and people said it's about promoting democracy and all these things happen. The Guardian newspaper had the most wonderful line. It said, the Gulf War was promoted, or was conducted to promote the American way of driving. Now, in this country, the price of gasoline is absurd. And if a presidential candidate says, I want to raise it by 5 cents, he loses. That is your modern economics, which Gandhi was prophetically warning against. He may have got the other extreme, but I think his ecological sensibility, his understanding of the dangers. I'll give another example. In contemporary India, promoting labor-intensive employment. You know, India has done miracles with 9% growth, but it's all labor-saving employment. The number of frustrated young men in India who are unemployed, who are taking up arms. I mean, the people who are joining the Maoist rebellion, the Islamic jihadis, the Hindu fundamentalists, the Raj Thakare's, Maharashtrian chauvinists, are all people who we can't find jobs. So Gandhi was, let me tell you, in 1925 and 1930, his economics sounded bloody naive. But in 2011, I'm not saying his ideas, his economic ideas are totally relevant. But people should take some of his insights and forge a much more environmentally sensitive and socially responsible economy.
Thank you very much. And whether it's Gandhi or Marx, you can't take the writings articulated at a point of time and apply them, you know, mechanically 60 years hence. They have to be adapted to us. And I totally agree with the professor that insofar as the environmental message is concerned, the jury is still out and there's far more relevance than most people. In fact, interestingly, I must tell you that many of us are supposed to have been at a retreat being organized by DESA, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, to deal with the environmental question. But I will mention to Shahzu Khan, my colleague, that some of those ambassadors would have got a better insight into what's wrong on the environmental issue if they'd listened to you here this afternoon. But on behalf of all of you here, I want to take this opportunity to thank you very warmly. We started these commemorative events in 2007, and I can say without any hesitation that the event this year was by far the most successful, the best attended, and I'm sure all of you will join me in a minute to give to express our appreciation appropriately. But I want to say that this kind of scholarship, we hadn't met I left the university a few years earlier, but I'm amazed at the manner in which you can write with equal authority and insight on issues on the environment as you can on cricket and then on this. So this is true scholarship, and it's not just scholarship. Your magnum opus India after Gandhi, as you discovered at the lunch I hosted, almost all the masters I had invited had already seen the book and had read it. But it also, the book itself and your performance today, your message, the fact that the Secretary General changed his entire schedule for an hour was here, and we had a chock-a-block full house on a Friday afternoon. You can't get an event meeting scheduled on a Friday afternoon. And I was asking Manjeev whether, we're okay. He said, no, the product is so good that we'll get a full house. But you're also a great communicator, and thank you very much. And I'm sure that your fan following has increased even further this afternoon, apart from your classmates in St. Stephen's College, who incidentally are saying that you are much more fun now. But thank you very much for that great scholarship.